So today we're talking about fight, the identity of the one who pushes back. And fight doesn't always look like yelling, slamming doors, or starting an argument. Sometimes it looks like rewriting a post until nobody can criticize it. Sometimes it looks like explaining your decision long after you've already made your point. And sometimes it looks like controlling every detail because trusting someone else feels impossible. And sometimes it sounds like, why am I the only one who seems to care about getting this done right? Fight is a part of you that pushes back when your body believes something is important and it's at risk. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Who Are You Under Pressure? I'm Lisa Adams. I'm a trauma informed life and behavioral coach, the founder of The Regulated Leader. In the last episode, we explored how your internal state can influence the version of you that appears under pressure. And today, we're going to look at the fight pattern, or what I call the identity of the one who pushes back. And we'll explore what fight looks like, how it feels in your body, and what it might be trying to protect you from. And one simple tool that you can use when you notice it taking over. Flight is a protective response that prepares you to confront, control, resist, and overpower a perceived threat. Your body gathers energy so you can do something about it when it feels wrong. And that can be useful when there's a real problem that requires clear, immediate action. But this response can also activate during an uncomfortable conversation, an unexpected change, some criticism, uncertainty, or a situation that you have no control over. And your body may respond, though it has to win, prove, correct, defend, or take charge before it can feel safe again. So many people don't recognize their flight response because they don't consider themselves angry or aggressive. But fight can be much quieter than that. It can look like irritability when somebody interrupts your plan. It can look like taking over because you don't trust anyone else to do it properly. It can look like correcting small details that don't actually matter. And it could look like arguing your point long after the conversation has stopped being productive. It can also look like becoming intensely focused on getting everything right so nobody has a reason to question you. The behavior may be different, but the message underneath is a similar one. I need to regain control. So, fight often begins in the body before it becomes an argument, a controlling decision, or a perfectionism loop. You may notice your heart rising through your chest, neck, or face. Your jaw may clench, your shoulders might tighten, your hands may grip from or form fists. Your heart beats faster, your breathing may become shorter and more forced. You may lean forward and speak faster, interrupt, or feel unable to let an issue go. You might also feel strong sense of urgency, and this is to be handled right away. And learning to recognize these early signals give you a chance to pause before that activation chooses your next move. So, over explaining is often connected to people pleasing, but it can also carry fight energy. In fight, over explaining becomes a form of defense. You're not only sharing information, you are building a case. You explain every reason behind your decision because being misunderstood feels unsafe. You prepare objections that haven't happened. You keep adding details because you need the other person to agree that you are right, responsible, and justified. And you tell yourself that they're simply being thorough. But underneath the explanation, your body may be preparing for a fight that you haven't actually asked to have. And fight can also wear the armor of perfectionism. And perfectionism says, if I make this flawless, nobody can criticize me. If I anticipate every problem, nothing can catch me off guard. If I stay in control, I won't be embarrassed, rejected, or blamed. This can look like high standards from the outside, but inside, it often feels like pressure. You rewrite, you redo, you check, correct, prepare long after the work is good enough. And the goal is no longer to produce something meaningful. The goal is to remove every possible threat, and that is impossible standard to meet. And sometimes fight appears as starting arguments or reacting strongly to small problems. You may become frustrated with your partner, your children, a colleague. It might even be a stranger. And this small issue in front may not even be the real source of pressure. Your body may have been gathering this activation throughout the day. The forgotten task, the unexpected question, a change in plans becomes where that pressure finally comes out. Understanding this doesn't excuse hurtful behavior. What it does, it helps you to recognize the activation earlier while you are still have a chance that you can have a choice to do what you want with it. So, fight often begins in the body before it becomes an argument, a controlling decision, or a perfectionism loop. You may notice your heart rising through your chest, neck, or face. Your jaw may clench, your shoulders might tighten, your hands may grip from or form fists. Your heart beats faster, your breathing may become shorter and more forced. You may lean forward and speak faster, interrupt, or feel unable to let an issue go. You might also feel strong sense of urgency, and this is to be handled right away. And learning to recognize these early signals give you a chance to pause before that activation chooses your next move. So, fight can create a powerful sense of certainty. And in that moment, it may feel completely justified. You know what was wrong, you know who caused it, you know exactly what needs to happen next. That certainty can feel like clarity, but sometimes it's activation, narrowing your view. And curiosity disappears. Other explanations become harder to consider, and the situation begins to feel like there's only two options: win or lose, right or wrong, control the situation or be controlled by it. Real clarity can hold more than one possibility. Fight based certainty usually feels urgent and absolute. And when activation settles, shame can appear. You may replay the conversation and you might wonder, why did I react like that? Why couldn't I let it go? Why did I say so much? Why do I always have to be in control? Then you promise yourself that you'll never react that way again. But shame doesn't teach your body that is safe. It often adds another layer of threat. And the goal is not to pretend that the behavior didn't affect anyone. The goal is to take the responsibility without turning one's reactive moment into a permanent identity. So, beneath the flight pattern, there is something more vulnerable. It may be protecting you from feeling powerless, from being misunderstood, from making a mistake, from being blamed, dismissed, embarrassed, rejected, or taken advantage of. If your experiences taught you that being in control prevented chaos, fight may have become one of the ways that you've learned to feel safe. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" try asking, "What feels at risk right now?" You may still need to set a boundary, correct a problem, or have that difficult conversation, but you can do it from steadiness instead of allowing the protective pattern to lead the entire conversation. And when flight is activated, your attention can lock onto the problem. You begin scanning for what's wrong, what could go wrong, or who may challenge you. And orientating helps your attention to return to the environment you are actually in. It gives your body current information instead of leaving it focused only on the perceived threat. This exercise won't solve the disagreement or make the decision for you, but what it will do, it will create small pauses so you can have the opportunity to respond with more of yourself available. Okay, so now we're going to go through a guided orientating exercise. If it is safe to do so, pause and let your eyes move away from the screen. You don't need to close your eyes, but what you could do is slowly look around in your space. Let your head turn naturally instead of moving only your eyes. Find one thing that you can see. Name it quietly. I see a window. Now find the second thing. Notice its color, shape, texture. I see a blue cup. Find the third thing. Let your eyes rest on it for a moment. Now the fourth. And finally, find the fifth thing, somewhere else in the room. Take one natural breath. Notice whether your jaw, shoulders, hands, your breathing, or a sense of urgency feels even slightly different. You are not trying to force yourself to feel calm. You are reminding your body, I am here. This is a space I am in. I have time to choose my next response. Okay, so after orientating, ask yourself these three questions. What am I trying to protect right now? Does this need to be handled immediately? And what would a clear response look like if I didn't have to prove, control, or win? Your clear response might still be firm. It still might be no. It might still involve correcting inaccurate information or addressing a behavior that isn't acceptable. Regulation doesn't mean becoming passive. It means creating enough space to choose how you want to use your strength. Now imagine that someone questioned a decision that you've made. You immediately feel the heat in your chest, your jaw tightens, and you're preparing a long explanation. But before replying, you look around, you name 5 things you can see, and then you ask yourself, am I sharing information or am I building a case because I feel threatened? You may realize that a simple response is enough. I considered the options, and this is the decision I've made. No essay, no imaginary argument, no need to convince the other person to approve your decision. That is the difference between having a boundary and fighting for permission to have one. So this week, we noticed the earliest signs in your fight patterns appearing. And maybe it's the heat in your face, the jaw clench, the need to correct someone, the urge to take over, or the feeling that everything must be resolved immediately. And when you notice it, pause, name 5 things that you can see, and then ask, what feels at risk right now. You don't need to fix the entire pattern. Your practice is simply to notice what's happening a little earlier. So, in the next episode, we're exploring the identity, the one who keeps moving. This is the pattern that can look like ambition, productivity, research, planning, or constantly starting something new. And we will explore what happens when you stay busy becomes a way to outrun uncertainty, discomfort, and or visibility. Now, before you go, I want you to tell me in the comments, how does fight tend to show up for you? Is it irritability, control, over explaining, perfectionism, or something completely different? You don't have to share the entire situation. One word is enough. And subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next episode of Who Are You Under Pressure? And if you're ready to explore these patterns more deeply, with some support, you can join us inside the Regulated Leader. The link will be in the description. And before you go, one last thing. Remember, your strength isn't the problem. The shift is learning how to see that strength without needing to fight for your safety.